Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our United States Transhumanist Party Virtual Enlightenment Salon of June now 7th, 2020. My name is Gennady Stolярov II. I am the chairman of the United States Transhumanist Party. With us today, we have a special guest, James Strole, the director of the Coalition for Radical Life Extension, the organizer of RAADfest, which is the largest life extension conference in the world. And we have had 4 RAADfests already, 2016 through 2019. There will be RAADfest 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada, from October 1st through October 4th. I will also introduce our other participants in this Virtual Enlightenment Salon. We have our secretary, Pavel Ilin. We have our 2020 US Transhumanist Party endorsed presidential candidate, Ben Zion. We have David Shoemaker, our director of applied innovation. We have our vice secretary, Caius Antony. We have our director of visual art, Art Ramon Garcia. We have our campaign director, John Carrots. We have our 2020 vice presidential candidate and director of longevity research, Charlie Kam. And then we have joining us from California, Newton Lee, our chairman of the California Transhumanist Party. Welcome to everybody on this call, and welcome particularly to our guest, Jim Strole. I think all of us in the life extension community are looking forward to RAADfest 2020. I think every year the RAADfest has reached new heights, and they were all great, but I think every year there was something greater about each successive RAADfest. So what are your plans for 2020?
Well, thank you, Gennady, for having me on. I'm giving a big hand to everybody, all your team here, a bunch of great people, I gotta say that. So thank you all for being on here with me. Well, okay, we're gonna make a, and by the way, Gennady, thank you for your great contribution you've made to RAADfest. You're always done a great job with us, and along with your team, so we appreciate it. Yeah, so we're gonna be making a major announcement around June 11th of what our whole plan is. You know, we are in, you know, different times, as you as we're all aware. So we have a whole plan we're going to lay out. I'm very excited though, because we're going to have, along with, of course, I want you to actually, you know, moderate again this year. You always do such a great job doing that, and we have such a great team on that level. And we're going to have some fantastic speakers, new speakers, along with the team that, you know, we have normally, you know, Bill Andrews and Aubrey DeGray and you know, Liz Parrish and Bill Falloon, and, you know, our whole team that will be presenting and be present. We're going to have a lot of new speakers, and we're going to bring, look, these are very, not only challenging times, but very special times. We're in a critical moment, I think. And I think we're all sense that very deeply. So it's more critical than ever that we actually bring to RAADfest everything that we've all got to keep to stay alive and to be at our best. And so that's the way we're designing RAADfest this year and 2020 in October. I'm very excited because we're going to have a whole new array, along with the people I've already mentioned, speakers, everyone from Dr. Amy Killen to Raymond Palmer, to Dr. Harry Adelson, to Sergi Young, and many others that we're bringing on board that are going to bring some new flavors and also some great new content around building what I call super immune systems, because that's really where we need to go, in my mind. Not only are we facing this challenge now with this virus, but really we all know we've been facing challenges of aging and disease since the beginning of humankind and beyond that. And we need to really do something about creating immune systems that can withstand not only this virus, but anything coming, because this is just a sign of the times, I think. And so, so we are designing RAADfest to bring the most powerful and most applicable information to the table. And so just not only the information, like I said, that will be very powerful, but to be able to translate it. And this is a great thing about the presenters that we bring to RAADfest, that they are able to really translate that in lay terms so everybody can understand it and also can apply it. I mean, what good is all the information in the world if you can't apply it in some really, great form and use it for yourself and the people you love? So that's what we're really, bringing to the table this year more than ever. I mean, every year, like you said, it's gotten better. And I'm particularly excited this year because we've been challenged in a new way. And so we all have to step up. And so I believe that's what we've done. And of course, we'll all see here at this new RAADfest. I think it's going to be remarkable what we all experience. And I think it's going to put us in a whole new paradigm in our health and our wellness. I just talked to Bill Falloon yesterday, head of Life Extension Foundation, and he's very excited because he's got some new concepts, modalities that are on the table that they're working on there with life extension and some other scientists and doctors that he thinks will be groundbreaking. So this is the kind of information we want to bring to RAADfest. I mean, unlike, there's a lot of great science events, but, RAADfest is particularly unique in the sense that what we focus on is not only the practical, applicable information, but age reversal information. I mean, let's face it, the new paradigm we're talking about is actually stopping aging and death. That's what I'm about. And that's what, our team is about. And that's what's great about RAADfest, because the people who come to that are dedicated to that, and they're excited about that. I mean, I get comments across the board that that when they come to RAADfest, it's life-changing because they meet people that are in that same conversation that they themselves sometimes felt alone in this world, that they want to continue living indefinite lifespans. These people are excited, and there's 1,000 or more of them that come together. And I mean, I haven't ever, it's pretty remarkable. In the last 4 event RAADfest we've had, I've never talked to anybody, had any comments of anybody that said anything negative about wanting to live an unlimited lifespan. Everyone's after it, some more than others, but I think that's a remarkable group of people to come together like that. And I want to thank you and all your team. And I see David here with his RAADfest shirt on. David's a great advocate for radical life extension. Thank you, David. But this is what we're doing together, and it is about the power of togetherness. We might have differences, okay, all of us, and that's just the way it is. But we have one common denominator that brings us together, and that's the most powerful thing to me on the face of the earth, and that is that we all want to end aging and death. We realize, and I say this all the time, but I you know how I have to always say it, we're not each other's enemies. Our enemy is aging and death. And we can solve this issue together, and we are solving it. And we now are in the era of infinite lifespans, unlimited lifespans. So that's what RAADfest is going to be about.
Excellent.
In that pre-interview, Jim, you and I discussed what you mentioned about super immunity, and I was really fascinated by and it's something that's a little bit side of enhancement in the public imagination. But right now, we also have mainstream science putting billions of dollars more into some somewhat similar initiatives. And only just in recent months, prior to this outbreak, there were some important breakthroughs for a universal flu vaccine, antiviral solutions of a similar kind. And we can, I think we can expect, a lot of folks are saying we might not see a cure to COVID. We might not see a vaccination to COVID in the way that some people are saying. But I think that we can put ourselves as life extensionists at the center of that conversation and advance what I consider to be an equally important objective, this conversation about enhancement and improving the human form to be far more durable overall.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ben. And it's good seeing you.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about in an earlier conversation, like you said, was look, I personally, and I've expressed this many times, I'm tired of being terrorized by aging and disease. I think that's what we're all looking at. We can't sit back anymore and be apathetic. I think one thing for sure in this pandemic we're facing, I think many people are realizing we can't be passive anymore. We can't sit back and be careless with our bodies and how we take care of ourselves. And that we've got to build a defense that will be able to withstand the rigors of this, not only this virus, but we all sense that new viruses that will be coming along that will threaten our lives. So we wash our hands, we do all the other great things that are recommended by the CDC and other organizations, and it's good to do. But what about really building an immune system? And this is one thing that hasn't been really talked about in any real intensity. But really, to me, it's the answer. Okay, look, we need to build, and we can. We've just basically scratched the surface in this. We already have therapies and modalities, and if you don't know them, you can learn them at RAADfest. You can learn them there's many body hackers that are working on this themselves in many arenas. That there's therapies and modalities you can do right now to begin to build a stronger immune system that maybe you've never experienced before. I know for me, I'm doing everything I can do. I feel better than ever. My organization, People Unlimited, we are constantly educating them on what to do for themselves and their immune system. We have all kinds of doctors and scientists that come into our arena and speak on that subject, and that's what we're focused on. And at this point, no one within People Unlimited has gotten sick. Okay, I want that same thing for the whole coalition. Okay, and for everyone in that context on this planet that wants to live, I'll say beyond this whole pandemic scene and beyond the, I'll say, tyranny that we have all faced in our bodies of sickness and aging. And we can strike a blow now against disease and aging like we never had before. But I think people are starting to wake up to this, but we need to capitalize on this wake up and begin to move and encourage people to move for their strength of their bodies, both physically and emotionally. They both actually work together. If you are depressed, like a lot of people we hear are getting depressed during this virus, during this pandemic. Some people have taken their lives. There's many horrible things on that level going on, a lot of stress and so forth. So that wears down the immune system. My attitude is, okay, and the attitude I like to impart to people is that this is a great opportunity. It's horrible in one sense, but it's also a great opportunity for us to rise to an occasion that we never had before and really have a wake up in our bodies that we need to build what I call super immune systems, and we can do it now. We can begin doing it now, not just looking for some pie in the sky answer from a vaccine or from some other magical potent remedy will come along. If something like that comes along, great. But hey, we can do something right now physically that is even bigger than, say, waiting upon some magical potion or something. We can actually have the capacity and the ability to build super immune systems. And this is what I want people to begin to tap into and think of. And not only that, a super emotional strength, that we aren't falling down in ourselves emotionally anytime we face a crisis or we feel something that we feel challenged in, but rather we begin to see it as an opportunity. To me, we've been facing these type of challenges forever as human beings. This is just another case of us having to look at what are we going to do now to actually come out of this, but not only come out of it, but come out of it better. And we can do that. I think we're got an opportunity to move to a more greater, beautiful future than we ever have as far as our health and our wellness and our whole well-being as a persons.
Yes, you're exactly right, Jim. I mean, this is the key. Taking what we know and applying it. RAADfest is perfect for people that want to know what to do, what's available. There are other sources too, but RAADfest is clearly one of those. But taking that information and applying it, if you don't do that, then you're not going to go anywhere. So I absolutely love what you have to say about you have to move with this. Looking for innovation, looking at what science is doing, talking about what science is doing is wonderful. Applying what science is doing and what innovations are available, that's the key.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. You alluded to us living evolutionary times, Jim, but and I agree with you wholeheartedly that universal super longevity that you have striven for but when I was just a twinkle in my mother's eye, longer than we've had a theory of such things in the articles that I've just shared in the comments. But you have been working steadfast towards a universal super longevity. I think I've been reading a lot about previous plagues and how they shaped the continents in which they occurred. And I think that we must do whatever we can to see that this horrible tragedy that we are going through promotes a universal super longevity. And I think it's not such an outlandish thing to say that could be in the cards in the coming decade or so.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love the way you put that, universal super longevity. That's great, because yes, that is my passion and what I've given myself to. I think there's no more noble of a cause and no more exciting of a cause. I mean, and mainly because now it's so fantastic, because when I was speaking back in 1972 and started out with my partner Bernadine and speaking this, no one was speaking longevity even. But now I'm so excited to hear all these conversations. So many now that we're broadening our scope out to that are in this conversation and feel not only the excitement about this, but the practicality and the physicalness of it and the realness of it. Look, we're creating a real world here. This is not just some airy-fairy stuff. We're talking real stuff here that now is being done. The Life Extension Foundation, SINS, so many of our organizations now and our great scientists and doctors creating these therapies and modalities. Dr. Bill Andrews now has this gene therapy worked out to where all we need to do now, he needs to get the money and the person to actually go into human trials, but he wants to do that soon. And this is enormous. So we're living in such a great, exciting world here. And not only that, we're bringing together now dreams that we had of creating. And I know I get so excited about this. I can rant on here probably for a couple hours here. So you guys, but it's like, it's just amazing. It's beautiful. But we need to get into this conversation and stir, like we already are, and stir the world in this. When you speak of universal super longevity, that's what I'm out to do. That's why we created RAADfest, to create this tipping point of people, this mass critical movement, to where we could movement that we can get people out here really familiar to what's really happening and get out of this old conversation about death and doom. Okay, we live now in the best times we could ever live in as human beings. We have an opportunity to do something that human beings have never done before.
So one of our commentators on YouTube, Mike L, writes, while we are at it, we need to eliminate all diseases, but a good way to do that is create super immune systems that destroy all viral and other diseases that invade our bodies. And Audrey Archer also says, yes, there are so many things we can do for our immune systems. Each person must take their responsibility, and there are many simple things. So one of the facts that I think all of us in the life extension community are well aware of, but the mainstream media don't emphasize nearly enough, is how susceptible the immune system is to the ravages of biological aging, and how the death rates from COVID-19 are exponentially higher for people who are biologically senesced. Indeed, the median age of death from COVID-19 is somewhere in the 80s. A lot of nursing home patients who have very weak immune systems are succumbing to it. People with stronger immune systems, people who are young and healthy, generally don't succumb to it as much unless they have some sort of underlying condition they might not have known about. But it seems to me the key to combating diseases like COVID-19, and there will be future diseases like it as well, is to find ways to rejuvenate the body, rejuvenate the immune system, make them more youthful so that at any age one can be more resilient. What do you think about that, Jim? And how do you think we can communicate that with more effect to the population at large? Because this is a message that they really need to hear.
Well, yeah, and you're totally right. Thank you for saying that about the elderly. Their immune systems are burnt out. They've been given a multitude of different drugs that create other conditions, and it becomes a snowballing effect they might live longer, but not necessarily healthy in a healthy state. So they call that the silver tsunami. And but yeah, it's unfortunate because I was talking to again Bill Floom. We were talking the other day. He said, "Look, I put out just some basic things, some basic supplements that people could take. Even some of these elderly people that are in these retirement homes and rest homes that are having the pandemic really hit them hard. I sent out some basic things they could just do, which was basically, rejected by Google and others that, because they didn't, fit the paradigm at the time and what was considered, appropriate solution. But these items that he sent out, like DC, some other, just some basic supplements would help these people, especially if they got it in large doses, help them be more sustainable to this virus and possibly get them through it, help get them through it. It'd be an aid, just a foundational aid. So just those small things like that, that we could, get out there more and people begin to receive it, because otherwise these people are sitting on either respirators or whatever they're doing. And once they get on respirators, most of the time it's the end for them because, it's taken over their breathing. But that's the whole issue. They've worn out their immune systems. I've got some people that we're involved with that I'm having take these different supplements. It's amazing what it can just help them do on a foundational level. Can it be necessarily a total answer for the virus? No, but it will give them the ability to sustain through it where they wouldn't succumb to it. Okay, so we have all these great, supplements and therapies right now that people can do. But most of all, too, for all of us, all right, we need to begin to be an example in this. And I think this is what so many of us are doing and getting the message out is being an example ourselves to really stay strong and build these immune systems that we know we can do. You're a good example, Gennady. You do, not only do you do, you exercise a lot, but also you take, I know many supplements, other things you do to keep yourself really strong. This is so important for us to set this example, apply what we know, and begin to spread this word out. And like I said, at RAADfest, we need to all speak out about this even more, wherever we're at. Let's build these super immune systems. That's the bottom line. And all this, whatever's going to come down the line for us, okay, that can reverse aging or whatever we need, we have to stay alive first to be able to get to that place. So, and the healthier you are, the better susceptible you are going to be, the better it's going to work any type of age reversal therapy you would decide to do. So it's a plus. It's all a win-win. Keep your immune systems really strong, stay alive long enough to live continuously, to live unlimited lifespan.
Hey, Jim, I see in the comments that someone brought up the issue of cost for doing all of this.
For what?
And I have my own idea. The issue of cost, how much money this takes to do these things. And I have my own views on this. I look at what those costs are and compare them to, say, like, what's the cost for my house payment? What's the cost for my car payment? What's the cost for money where I place other things and prioritize that? But I'm interested in your perspective on that.
Well, exactly what you're saying. We don't think nothing about, we want a shelter over our heads, and that's important. We don't think nothing about making our house payment, our car payment, because we need a car to get around all these things. But how much emphasis do we actually put on the greatest thing we have? Because if you don't have your life, you don't have your body, you don't have a house, you don't have a car, you don't have any of those things, because you're too sick to either enjoy it or you're dead and you don't have it. So you got to put your body first and invest in it. This is what I always say, and this is what I do. I put my body first. I like nice things, but hey, again, if you don't have your body, you don't have anything. So to me, the money you would spend on your body is the best investment you can make. And it's really, look, there's so many things you can do, as you know, David, that are inexpensive, from everything from exercise to breathing, exercising, taking the time for that, and then supplements that will create a good foundation, for you. IVs you can do to build your super immune IVs you can do, many things along that line that you can do that aren't expensive. Okay, you spend much more money on everything else. But I would say, we have to begin to orientate ourselves as human beings to really not only say, hey, my body is important, but really put our money where our mouth is.
Yes.
We need to begin to invest in our bodies like we never had before. So if a person, for example, is going to lose their life because they have some condition and they're not willing to invest in whatever it would take to do that. I mean, for me, if it meant I had to spend money enough, I had to sell my house, my car, everything to stay alive, I would do it. Now, see, that's my that's my mindset.
I
Now,
think that gets.
Yeah.
That's not radical, that's responsible.
Yeah, that's responsible. Exactly. I mean, look, that's my mindset. And I know by staying alive and being alive, I'll always create new prosperity. I'll always create something, a new house, a new car. But if I'm dead, I have no chance at all. So see, but we hold on to our money. It becomes like our expression of immortality. It becomes like instead of having immortality, we find ways to express our immortality through collecting things, collecting houses, collecting all those things we collect in life. I say, hey, put your body first. That's the first investment you need to think of, and you will thrive in every other way.
I think that gets to a really important point, Jim. This idea that maybe an individual spending many tens of millions of dollars, or those who are more commonly able to spend some tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on life extension interventions, it pales
Yes.
by comparison to some network effects of a public health service or public health initiatives. And it would sadden me. I would consider it, in fact, an outrage if in 20 years' time, the only people who were able to have a life extension public health service were those who presently live in blue zones in what we consider the first world. And it is why, seems almost like a lifetime ago, in April of this year, Chairman Stolyarov and I began working on a Buenos Aires life extension declaration for a public health service that treats aging as a disease, which now has many dozens of leaders, chairs and leaders from the life extension community as signatories to this, and it has advanced quite admirably. It's going to be presented, this proposal, to the Congress of Argentina on behalf of the city of Buenos Aires, and our health minister down there and political operatives down there are to be continuing to work on this. And I say all of this because it's the sort of thing that we all should be doing. I think that I doubt that I could truly prevail, to be perfectly honest, upon this country of Argentina to see that this will absolutely happen. But it is still a move toward this universal super longevity. And this is something undertaken by a small number of people, most notably, I should say, these well-connected friends of ours in the futurist community down there. And but anyone has this ability to advance this discussion. And I encourage all of you from now until the end of time, until the universal super longevity is achieved,
Exactly.
to take that tack.
Yeah, well said. Thank you.
I do want to mention a few approaches that could be accessible to anyone regardless of cost. And Jim, you touched on some of them, but I know in the comments a few people expressed concern about some of these treatments or practices being only accessible to people of means, and that's not at all the case. There are many supplements, for instance, that can be purchased over the counter. Almost every mainstream medical practitioner will recommend some degree of vitamin D supplementation because a lot of people are deficient in it. And you can buy vitamin D gummies very inexpensively. Just take one or two every day and boost your levels of that substance. And likewise, vitamin C can help fortify the immune system, though probably, yes, probably a lot of foods are going to have decent amounts of vitamin C if you look on the ingredient labels and try to increase your consumption of that. I take turmeric as well, and that can help with immunity, fighting certain microorganisms. I take some probiotics, and I run a lot. So right now, we're in the midst of a virtual race that the US Transhumanist Party is hosting, the Victor Run 2020. This is June 7th, the last day of the race. So if you go out and run and report your results to us, you may still be eligible for a custom finisher medal. One of our great supporters, Dr. Bill Andrews, our biotechnology advisor, is only unable to be here because he's in the process of running up another mountain in Nevada. He ran 17.92 miles on Friday. He ran 23.63 miles on Saturday. And now he's running some double-digit quantity of miles as we speak. So this is an example of a person who's in his late 60s, and he continues to run these immense distances. He has participated in more than 200 ultra marathon races, and he's one of the fittest and healthiest people I know. So
it's so true. It's so true. Not only, I mean, yeah, like I said earlier before we started the event today, I was talking to him a couple of days ago, Friday, when he was in your race.
mm-hmm.
When you started your race, and I called him up, and he answered the phone running, and he wasn't even out of breath. I said, "Are you sure you're running? You're not even out of breath." And so not only does he though, do this running, which is fantastic in itself, okay, but he really takes care of himself. He has a really strict diet, okay, that he's on for inflammation. It's an anti-inflammatory diet because his genetics has a predisposition for Alzheimer's. Okay, so he's actually being proactive with it. So he's on this really strict diet, okay, and he also does many other things that he does to keep himself well. He realizes the importance, the vitalness of taking care of his body first, and he has a great mindset. Okay, that's so important. He's had so many challenges in his business for this last few years. It's been enormous, and the stress has been great. But his mindset has been fantastic in it. I've talked to him every couple of weeks, and he keeps up his courage in it. He keeps up his desire to accomplish what he feels he was born to accomplish, and that is to cure aging. And so he doesn't get down under this stuff. I'm sure he has moments like everybody, but like many of us who feel this way, the mindset and that we take on, and the taking physically care of our bodies is the two most important things we can do that keeps us really well. And Dr. Bill Andrews practices both of those. I do. And anybody I see that does that, combines the power of the mindset with the therapies and modalities, is the healthiest people I know.
There's some interesting comments here that we might address. Both Tom Haidt and Edward Hudgens commented that this idea of a universal super longevity or public initiatives to that end might be rather quixotic. And I would like to encourage you to think of the time that we live in now in conceptualizing this. We live in a time where a virus and ensuing cascading cyber wars and the actions of individual operatives who are empowered by advanced technology have led to us to the brink of a destabilization of social order. That problem gets worse as technological advancements occur, but it's largely mediated in a world where there is not income insecurity, and where these things are operating at scale and presented not just to people on one continent in a certain tax bracket, but being advocated for everyone. And we need to do whatever we can to create that enthusiasm amongst all of those folks, and also the political will to see that we do not set these goals aside.
So Ben, Edward Hudgens has responded to you, and then we'll hear from Dan.
I wanted to say something. Yeah,
right. I just wanted to highlight his comments. He says, no, longevity is not quixotic, it's doable. And previously, he also says, the Tufts University study found it costs $2.9 billion and 10 to 12 years on average to bring a product from a lab to a patient, much because of a certification process that's out of date given the possibilities of exponential technology. So what he's saying actually is that it is doable, but there are barriers in the way, political barriers, such as the extremely costly and burdensome and obsolete and irrational approval process of the FDA that need to be removed. But I think he would agree with us that universal super longevity is reachable if those barriers are removed. I think he was saying what's quixotic is universal social justice, but that's different. But Dan, what did you want to say?
I wouldn't say that. I'd like to address that as I was mentioned by name. I wouldn't say that it's an absolute certainty that these goals cannot be met more quickly by network effects purely in the private sector. But I think if you truly believe that, you're setting aside a very, very powerful tool for seeing the betterment of our species. And I'm not sure I trust the people who want to always add that caveat. We should allow for the possibility that this could be something that catches fire the world around through both private, public, and public-private partnerships. But most assuredly, right now, public health is something that is handled through socialized medicine networks in the developed world. And
so, Dan, what did you want to say?
Yeah. Well, first, I don't know why social justice came up, but
it's just everything. I
think we're getting off track. Let me make my point.
Dismissed as social justice.
Yeah, going back to the question about costs. Another point is, I mean, look at how much we're already spending on end of life care, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, our insurance is so expensive in part because people are leading very unhealthy lives, and then we're sort of building up all this debt, and then at the end of our life, end of most people's lives, they suddenly incur enormous costs on the system. So I think if with more and more longevity treatments, that we're going to be spending less money on that, end of life care. So our insurance will be cheaper, or the money will be the money will be able to flow elsewhere somehow.
That's a great insight.
Another thing I would like to see is insurance companies, maybe doing proactive things to avoid these enormous costs at the end of life. So
I think this is the time when Transhumanist Party needs to get more political and involved with the social justice issues. This is the time when we need to actually speak up on the behalf of the people and let everybody know that we're supporting, the process of approval for the new drugs and everything else, so that the FDA speeds up the process. We cannot stay silent at this point. We actually need to speak up and, get more.
Yeah, I like to add to that, Janani, that it's so important to speak up, all of it, and we're doing that. And really, the reality is that the super longevity movement, the super longevity immune system fire has already started. Okay, we don't have to start the fire, but we need to spread the fire. Okay, yes. This is important. This is very important to get. We are the fire, all right, and it has started, and we need to spread this fire. And it comes from basics that we need to speak about and that are totally affordable now to build immune systems, that we have to begin to, like we were all speaking earlier about spreading it out, this word, what we're doing, what's the capacity that we can create by our movement and in the building immune systems, and the simplicity of it, really. We can't wait for FDA to change. We can't wait for all these policies in Washington to change. This is what sometimes we've done as human beings. We're really not subject to them. We just think we are. We need to change our mindsets and realize that we're really the ones in charge of our own lives, and begin to move with a vibrancy of that and a strength of that, which we're already started. This is the fire I'm talking about. And begin to do all the things that we want to create, be free in our bodies, to create the world that we already see. That's what RAADfest is about. That's what the transhumanist movement is. I'm so appreciative of you guys and what you're doing in this and the different issues you're talking about. But we've got to just keep on moving the way we are, keeping strong, keeping vibrant in our immune systems, and spreading out to people what can be done now on simple levels. People can stay alive. No one has to. Bill Falloon says this all the time. No one has to die now. There's enough information right now that everybody could stay alive. Okay. Now there might be. I'm talking about people that are not already on their deathbed. All right. I'm talking about right now people that are capable of implementing some of these applications. So we're already in a world, and we've got the information, we've got the therapies, we've got the supplements to begin that building of a super immune system. Now that is exponentially going to get stronger all the time. You know, I'm healthier today than I've ever been, but I'm excited about the prospect of getting healthier, even more healthier tomorrow on the next day. So this is a fire that's burning here, and we don't have to wait on anything anymore. We just need to begin to move for what we really feel in our hearts and our minds.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, go ahead, Anthony.
I would like to just take a moment to bolster Mrs. Lee's point. Nothing that we are talking about today will happen unless we are actively creating an environment in which those things are possible. We need to create a conducive environment, which is why we are a political organization, is we want to encourage the change, encourage the legislation. We want to update things like the FDA in order to be more receptive to life extension technologies. Universal super longevity, which is one of my favorite phrases from Ben. We do have an opportunity. The word opportunity has been used a few times in this meeting so far, and albeit reluctantly, because there is a certain moral catch when you're taking advantage of an opportunity. But I think the benefits will outweigh the cost in that regard. There is an opportunity right now in this social justice climate, as it was phrased, to be a leader in this, and we should be mindful of that.
I'd like to add, and in support of what Dan Elton said, describing public health initiatives as they stand as an inability to right the sinking ship. That is to say that we have a great deal of money spent on end of life and not nearly enough resources put to maintaining health throughout one's life. And to my way of thinking, this should be just about the rightmost argument that anyone should make in this community as to this question. It's true. We should be more fiscally conservative, but in this one respect, and we should certainly not inadvertently do anything that strips us further of the necessary protections such as we've already seen in this country over the last 4 decades. What's going on in Germany right now? German people are collecting unemployment insurance and relying on their public health system and preparing to go back to normal life any day now. What's happening in the United States right now? Oh, you don't want to know. But it's something to do with these not having this mandate of going too far right with respect to these kinds of policies overall. And of course, in this context, public health matters.
So Edward Hudgens writes that he has been heavily involved in FDA reform, and he attributes the problems to a sclerosis bureaucracy, as well as the 1962 system when FDA began regulating drugs for efficacy rather than safety in response to the thalidomide scare. And he also states that he was at a meeting at FDA headquarters in last February and complained about regulations preventing private labs from distributing virus test kits and much more. There is so much private innovation right now. Companies are racing to find cures and vaccines to COVID-19, but the FDA is cracking down because there's this attitude among the bureaucracy that something has to be completely proven and pass all of the tests before it may be allowed to be deployed at all. And they fail to understand the costs of making that error. On the one hand, yes, some treatments may not be as efficacious as they're originally thought. But on the other hand, how many thousands of patients are going to die because they're getting no treatment at all, rather than getting something that might or might not work. So this whole attitude that you have to completely vet something and prove that it works before you may use it on anyone is a highly dangerous attitude, and it needs to be discarded under any system, public or private. I think that's one aspect that we can all agree upon. But I want to hear from some of our participants who haven't spoken yet. I know Art Ramon Garcia, you had some comments in the chat. You stated super longevity might need to be reframed due to opposition from deathists who see the planet as being overpopulated. And I myself do not see overpopulation as an issue, but that's a discussion we can get into perhaps more thoroughly at another time. But you also stated, in the context of space exploration and off-world colonization, time is meaningless and might be a better focus of super longevity. So could you elaborate on those thoughts or any other thoughts you had in relation to what's been said?
Sure. Yeah, I just see opposition from deathist Christian type groups who see aging as a natural process, a natural order. And these people are part of the country and they vote, they have influence in the FDA. So I think if we could reframe it in the context of Space Force and think of off-world colonization, moon bases, then people won't be so put off by the term super longevity.
Yes. So the idea here that you're espousing is life extension could be instrumental for certain other goals, like enabling astronauts to survive long journeys through space. And perhaps some people see space colonization as a goal who might be put off by the direct life extension arguments, but they could be brought over to our side if it's framed as, oh, this is to enable space colonization. So that's an interesting point of view. And I would say, whatever the reasons are that people support our cause, as long as they support it, that is what is important. But Newton, you might have some insights on this, because I know you are yourself a Christian and you don't see Christianity and super longevity as being at odds. So how would you communicate the ideas of super longevity to a Christian audience in a way to make them more receptive?
That's a very good point. A lot of people think that evolution and creationism are at odds with one another, but it's not the case either. So I was actually had a recent discussion on LinkedIn with somebody who used to be a Christian and now he's not, because of this conflict of science and religion. And so I was explaining to him that no, that's not conflict, but it's like looking at two sides of a coin. Okay, it's like looking at, for example, when we create AI programs, artificial intelligence program, so we are the creator, but the program itself can evolve, can become greater. Okay, so in a sense that human beings were created by the creator, and yet we evolve. We are like God in the sense that we can create new ideas, we can create new technology, and I think that is what's important. And in terms of super longevity, I think it's not that Christians don't want it; they do. Okay, that's why there's a Christian transhumanist movement, so to speak, which is in parallel with transhumanist movement, we have Christian transhumanist movement, which says that look, why are we pursuing super longevity in a physical body and a sharp mind and a healthy body? We actually have to use that as a vehicle to serve God. You use that to serve humanity, to help one another, to love one another. This whole idea of religion is not to kill one another, but to love one another, to help each other. So the idea is that, look, okay, so you're going to live 1,000 years or longer. What are you going to do with your time, right? Of course, we can be creative, we can write books, we can write music, whatever you want to do. But at the same time, what happened to neighbors who are having trouble? Are you going to help them? What about to students who cannot afford to go to school? Are you going to help them get educated? All kinds of things that that is important. In the sense that, for example, you look at the environment, right? We're talking about save the environment, stop the pollution and so on. The reason why people are not doing it as much is because, look, they say, I'm not going to live for another 50 years. Why would I care? But if they're going to live 1,000 years, they will care. You don't want to not be able to swim in the ocean because of pollution. You want to be breathe fresh air. You don't want to be, wearing a mask for the rest of your life. For the next 10,000 years, you're going to wear a mask and, go outside. You don't want that, So things that are difficult, overlooked today will become very, very important to in everybody's mind. And I think Christians will absolutely go for it. Especially in Christianity, when we say, love thy neighbor, right? How are you going to do that? If you are going to live a long time, you have to take care of all these things: environment issue, healthcare, education, all kinds of things.
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a question.
I'd like to ask a question of our guest, our special guest, James Strole. You're an organization of one of many organizations that you're affiliated with has evolved on this subject over the decades from something of a little bit more of a religious literalist, universal super longevity message, to a more universalist, universal super longevity message. Would you care to comment on any of this or on matters of faith as it relates to the achievement of a universal super longevity?
Who are you asking that of, Ben? I didn't hear your first comment.
I think he asked Jim.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I was going to ask. Yeah, I was actually going to ask Newton. I think that was great comments he made. I think first of all, with religion overall, like you said, Ben, I've evolved, and many of us have, but from my own personal experience, I've evolved out of the Christianity world for myself. But I recognize, and I liked what Newton said, that really that time, and I think what Newton's talking about too, is that Christians overall want immortality. The problem many times is, unlike Newton, they believe they have to have it after they die. And then they'll achieve, immortality in some state, either in heaven or maybe the second coming. And, I was taught when I was a kid that, and in Christianity, that there'd be a second coming. And when Jesus did come, those who were still alive would not see death. When I was a child, I thought, oh, wow, that's exciting. I want to be one of those people. But I think, so I think there could be a great revolution in this, because as I've traveled and I spoke actually in churches about immortality, and a great deal of the people embrace it. But again, and maybe Newton will have some comments on this, and maybe how he thinks that could be evolved or move. I'll say people can move. How we get people to move out of this more is that they are pretty much locked in, most Christians, to that they have to die first. Now, I was just talking to my doctor, who's actually, can everybody hear me? I think I went blank here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Oh, okay. I went blank for a moment. I was just talking to my doctor, who's a Christian, and he's really excited. I share with him all the time, what I'm doing, and he gets real excited about it. He gets excited about, the unlimited life prospect. But when I address him about it to him on a deep personal level, like the other day, like I did, I said, well, what about you? Do you want to live forever? He says, I do, but I have to die first. He said, I have to die first, but then I can live forever. So, it's interesting, because I really didn't think, on one level, it's very good science, that because that he thinks he has to die first to, I'm not sure about the physics of that for sure. So here I'm talking about some real practical, method that, hey, we can work together. And he's actually working with me on my longevity, but he can't work on himself. So there's a block there, to the extent that I do. So he helps me as much as he can, which is great. I take things from him. But this is the issue that I see a lot and experience. And it's really why, for me personally, I'll use the term, I wasn't against Christianity. I'm not against any religion, but I'll use the expression, I moved out from there. I evolved out from there because of that, I'll say, block that was there. Okay. I could not find any other people in that arena that I could actually share the idea and be really accepted, and the idea of unlimited lifespans without dying.
Jim,
this is very,
have you?
Yeah.
I have a question. Have you tried to approach the head of the Mormon church? Because I know they have a very transhumanist approach to death and after death.
I have, and maybe I have actually. I've actually visited the Mormon temple here, and I didn't speak to the absolute head person there, but I spoke to one of the leaders there, and they told me that there will be. They actually mentioned a number. It was pretty remarkable, actually. They actually remember mentioned a number of people. I think now it was like 20,000, 30,000. I can't remember the number. It was quite some time back. That people in their religion, in the Mormon religion, that would not see death. When I spoke in immortality to them, they loved it. Okay, but they loved it from that place. So there's going to be a certain number that won't see death, but the rest will. And I said, well, why not the rest? I mean, don't they have an opportunity too? Well, based on their belief system and which is very intricate, no, there's only going to be a number of people. That's how this particular person expressed it. Now, this doctor happens to be a Mormon that I'm talking to, okay, that I'm just telling you about. So this is the challenge. Now, you're remarkable, Newton, in this respect, but I think you're an anomaly, right? Because, you're really, I mean, I have a total flow with you of our life. I don't see any blocks, and that's the way it should be, okay? We don't argue whether there's a God or not, or whether there's this or that, but we have a common denominator. We have a common purpose together. And we both feel that the body does not have to see death. We see the, I'll say the ridiculous, concept of that, really, because we so limit ourselves in a box. But so I really, admire you and your feeling, but I'm not sure. I don't know how many other people you have within your Christian arena that actually feel that way, because my experience is, it's a difficult thing for them to really embrace on a real, true physical level. They embrace it on a heavenly level. They consider heaven, in that context, going to heaven is their immortality, or being like I said earlier, the second coming. That if they're still alive, then they won't die then.
True. Now it's interesting that you mentioned your doctor, because doctors, their career, the objective to save lives, right? If they can save a person's life, they will. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly.
That's why they're a doctor. Right.
Exactly.
Now, if you think about it, Jesus was a doctor, right? Jesus saves a lot of people's life, right?
Yeah.
He even raised the dead, right? While he was on earth, he was raised the dead. So then it really negates the idea that we have to die or we have to suffer, really.
Another point simply is just that the longer you live, the more good works you can do, and it says the more good works you do, the more treasures you build up in heaven. So there's an incentive in the Bible to stay alive as long as possible, right? And also, just to do more missionary work and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I think at least living a long time, or doing a lot in your life by living long, is very consistent with biblical teaching. But the idea of perpetual life or immortality is much harder to swallow. But certainly just everyday anti-aging, the stuff we normally talk about, I think would be very logical for Christians and other religious people.
What I hear is saying is that super longevity, there's something in this for everyone. No one needs to be left out of super longevity, which is why I support the Transhumanist Party as far as having all different viewpoints coming to the table focused on our main goals. It's one of the reasons I'm so enthusiastic about RAADfest. For those that don't know, I've been to every RAADfest that's been, and I plan to go to every RAADfest that will be, because Jim, your ability to bring different groups of people together at RAADfest, it's not all one point of view that's there. It's a great many points of view. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you pull off that miracle.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. How do you do it?
Well, you know what? And I was going to say this earlier. It's really a matter. It's deep in my person and my heart. I understand the power of togetherness, and just like we're sharing here and talking here, it's very meaningful, because we're not only sharing our ideas and thoughts, but we're sharing. I'll call it our virtue. We're sharing a power and energy together. Okay, so when I experienced this as a I'll say a young kid, that how important it was for people to pull together to create. I mean, we could do much more, get much more done. And so I was a big admirer of, in growing up, of, you know, people like Abraham Lincoln. I read every book I could read on him, and others that would have this type of ability to do that. And so I had this passion in my body to, when I awakened us, I use that term awaken to the idea that we could live unlimited lifespans. You know, I had this passion to bring people together for that purpose. And so when I reached out, the short story is when I reached out to people, well, first of all, as most of you know, I own an organization called People Unlimited. And my partner, Bernadine, and I, we were talking with some of our other team, and they said, hey, Jim, you have an ability to speak to people and bring them together. Why don't we reach out to the, longevity community wherever they are, and begin to create something with them to bring everybody, to galvanize the longevity community and bring them together. So again, the short story is I began to call people, and I just expressed, first of all, my passion of what we could do together. We created the concept of a coalition for radical life extension. And then we also, decided, hey, we would do an event together, but something that was not only just another science event, but an event that would draw the public too, something that would be the best of science, but also very inspirational and very exciting on that level. So we decided, hey, so what about something like a Woodstock for radical life extension? So what did Woodstock do? It brought all these people together, for music. And at that time when Woodstock happened, they thought they were going to change, all those people that were involved in that thought they were going to change the world. That would change the world because of all the passion and the feeling and the desire that people had. But of course that didn't happen because it wasn't a proactive movement after that. But so I started reaching out to people like Bill Andrews, who's one of the first, Max Moore, David Kekich, Bill Falloon, others. And every one of them that I talked to, I just let them know how I felt in my heart about what I wanted to create and the passion of that. And they all, it was beautiful. They all just responded immediately. They said, hey, I love this. Let's do this. They had no idea what we could really put together there on that level. But I was expressing things. I had created People Unlimited, so they saw I had done that. It was the biggest community of its kind. But at the same time, it was an unknown. But the feeling was great with all these people. So I did what I did, but I can't take for sure all the credit by any means, because it's really all of us pulling together. And I think the timing was right for it. I think the incentive was right. I think now we're in we are actually living I'll say the era of super longevity now. I call it the era of age reversal now. We're in that. And so I moved and just began to talk to all these people, got them on the phones, everything else. And before we know it, we had this coalition formed and a steering team and a board, and it just flowed. I mean, it's really beautiful. I'm grateful for it. I'm really grateful for all the people I've come in contact with, and including all of you guys. I mean, you're amazing. I love the depth you guys go to, and I'm a member of the transhumanist movement. And so I think more than ever we have to just pull together. This is the call I'm putting out for everyone. You guys. Sometimes I feel like the Transhumanist Party has been a little bit removed from some of the, I'll say, other communities, particularly maybe the parts of it from the RAADfest, maybe thinking in some arenas, maybe RAADfest wasn't scientific enough. The reality is RAADfest is the best of science for age reversal, but also we have brought in all these other, avenues, we brought in diversity. So because that's really what real life is about. We need a movement. We need a movement that really represents real life. And then we're going to be all of us together impactive in the world. All of us have an impact to make. So this was the message I put out to everybody, and like you can feel here as I'm talking to you now, I've got a deep passion for it, and I'm unstoppable in it. I'm not going to stop, and I feel like that's how a lot of you feel. You're not going to stop and moving what you really feel, because stopping would mean the end of us. We can't stop and moving for this life that is so vast and so big, and so the more I do it, the more I love it. And we're meeting more people all the time, and that's why I'm even more excited about RAADfest this year, because it's going to be bigger and better than ever.
Yes, indeed.
Jim, you you touched upon the good work of People Unlimited, and since I moved to Arizona, I've been to a number of your meetings and many events besides, and I want to thank you for that message. You know, I'm moved by the words of Dan Elton here, by Newton Lee, our friend, by David Shoemaker. This idea, and of course yourself, this idea that we that a universal super longevity is not a social justice agenda; it's a basic human agenda. And I have never been a person who, for identity or ideological reasons, was drawn to religious literalism in my life. But yet I have attended a Universalist service, a Unitarian Universalist service throughout my adult life as well. And I believe first and foremost that all of mankind lives within God's grace. And I think that we must act accordingly as an organization. And if that makes me too much a social justice warrior, then I apologize to you all. But it is what I feel must do.
Yeah. Well, everybody has their role. Everybody has their role, and there's nobody. That's why I'm saying, for me, look, I'm doing what I do. I'm doing what I do best. But you know what? It takes all of us to get this done. That's the reality. And this is what's so great about the idea of, not only the idea of this movement of super longevity, is it demands all of us. It calls deep in our soul for a movement from all of us that no other purpose does. You know, we can ask for, freedom of speech. That's great. Freedom of speech is important. But what good is freedom of speech if you're dead? You know, we gotta be alive to have freedom of speech. So there's no greater call on earth. And this brings us together. Nothing else this is capable of uniting human beings for a higher purpose that's never been before on our planet. This can truly, really, guys, this can bring about even the peace that we've looked for as human beings, and the creativity we have to build a whole different planet.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say a lot of your comments resonated with me, Jim. Since the start of the pandemic, it has very much been on my mind that being fully invested in this cause for achieving universal super longevity, for combating disease, not just the current pandemic, but all disease more generally, is a course that really is the only rational choice. There's no other choice we could make that would make sense, especially because we didn't ask to be put into this situation where we have disease all around us. This situation was thrust upon us. And
exactly.
Really, what are the alternatives? Hunker down and give up? That's not a valid option for anyone who wants to live, who wants anything decent in life. So the only other option is to fight disease and fight death. And
exactly. Thank you. Beautiful.
Yes, indeed. I wanted to give the opportunity to all of the others in this conversation to ask any questions or make any comments. So Pavel, do you have any thoughts on what has been said thus far, or any questions for Jim Strole?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to shift conversation towards culture. That's what I usually do. And I think that we experience all the struggles because the thought about death, especially about death from aging, is the most rooted taboo in human culture, and we challenge it. We challenge the foundation of culture we exist in. And I rather have a question to everyone, and to James also, than a solution. And how can we overcome this taboo? How we can insert this idea that, quote Gennadi's book, "Death is wrong," into the culture properties?
There it is. Death is wrong.
Death is wrong.
That's a great book. Yeah. Well, again, I think we've begun. I mean, for me, we've begun doing this, and thank you for bringing that up. I love your passion in it, because it's so true. I mean, we live in this culture of death, and really, there's a certain level of that we're not going to change. I think we have to move for a whole new paradigm, and that's really what we're doing. There's some minds we're not going to change. There's some people we're not going to convince, but we have to move for the new world we want to create, and not look back and not look left or right, but really go with those who really want to create this new world and get strong in that. Because the more you get into the fray, the more you get into the battle with those who don't, respond, the more you can get pulled down in your own body. And the more you can get disappointed, and the more that gravitational pull of death can be on your body. There's a gravity in it. And so we have to, I think, and what I've experienced and what I'm doing is focusing on those and the life that I really want to have. I think there's a whole new world coming out of the ashes. That's what I see, and that's what I experience. And that's what we need to focus on.
I think the focus really is instead of how not to die, it's about how to live.
Exactly.
See, if you talk about negative things, how not to die, people always say, oh no, what do I do now? And I don't want to die. But if you say how to live, I think more people will be, agreeing to it. They say, oh yes, I want to know how to live, right? So I think if you rephrase that a little bit, it makes a huge difference.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the best way we can do right now is to actually join the efforts of the Transhumanist Party and the People Unlimited, not only to collect the votes to sign a petition to the government that the FDA speeds up the process of approval of the vaccines and stuff, but we can also jointly collect the funds so we can work on the super immune system. I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, that's great.
Join the efforts. In the current situation, we will get the biggest outcome because this is a transformational time.
It is. We should work together in
words.
every way we can. That's great.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. So, Charlie, do you have any thoughts regarding this conversation? Any comments, questions?
Yeah.
Charlie, I'm so happy to hear you.
Hey.
Hey, Jim, so good to see you. Great to hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's I'm listening to this and I'm thinking I'm thinking back in my mind how much fun RAADfest was every year.
Yeah.
I attended every year, not just as an attendee, but as a presenter, and it was always amazing. You got such great information and great entertainment there.
Well, you're so much fun, Charlie. That's why.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It really is about me. No, it's funny. No, you guys, and by the way, I was lucky enough to present People Unlimited a couple of times. If anybody ever gets a chance, if you're in Scottsdale, you get a chance to go there, go there. Those people are, not only do they all want to live forever, but they're all welcoming and warm and great people. I feel like they're family when I get there. So I wanted to plug that because that just speaks to how good you are at putting together really great organizations.
And the virtual community is incredible as well.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
Everything's good. I did want to
Thank you.
mention one of the things that came up earlier. We were talking about treatments, and costs for them. One of the cheapest, for free that you can do is caloric restriction. Just don't eat or some intermittent fasting, because one of the other, aside from age, 80, 85 or something being the common denominator of people with dying from COVID, one of the most common rather common afflictions for people that are going to respirator was obesity. So, that because obesity has a lot of effect and strain on a person's body. So people need to think about, be careful, but if you it doesn't cost anything if you just stop eating, or at least, be careful about caloric restriction. So I had a question though for you, Jim, with regard to RAADfest, and I don't know if everybody understands. RAADfest stands for Radical
Revolution
against aging and death. And the second half is Fest, which is because it's not a conference, it's a festival. It's a lot of fun. You have a lot of entertainment, and the entertainment is always relative to life extension, which I love. In fact, Jim, I got a new video to present this year, so we'll talk about that later.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah, I had a question for you with regard to RAADfest for this year. Is it what are you doing about that? With all this concern about COVID and everything. I know you guys are up in October, but what are you doing about that, or how are you handling that?
Okay, in another week, around the 11th, we're going to put out our whole plan, and it's going to be elaborate. Okay, so I'd rather not go into just the small details on that now, but we do have a really good plan, and then also people can contact us after that and ask any questions they want. But we feel we really have it covered. It's going to be different, of course. But we'll be announcing that soon.
That's great. Okay, look
Yeah.
forward to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, indeed. So be on the lookout, everyone, for updates from RAADfest. I know a lot of our viewers are interested in this plan that you described, Jim. Tom Height in the comments also asked essentially the same question that Charlie posed. So thank you for letting us know that this is forthcoming. And now I know we are reaching the end of our planned time segment for today. So Jim, let's leave the last word to you. How will you sum up the discussion here? What thoughts do you want our listeners to come away with? What could they explore further to, let's say, bolster their immunity, help them survive this pandemic and come out better and stronger and healthier on the other end?
Okay, well, first I want to say I love all you guys. You're amazing, and it's been great doing this show with you. Yeah, very, very inspiring and stirring. And let's take this energy that we feel and keep spreading it and work together more than ever. And everyone that's listening, let's do that. Look, no matter what your opinion may be of this new world, or whether you're in all the way or not, or you have questions or you have different thoughts, that's all great. We're all different human beings. But again, we have one common purpose, and that's to keep our eye on the prize. And the prize is creating endless lifespans, unlimited lifespans, ending aging and death. This is the greatest gift we can give to ourselves and one another. So I'm just grateful. I'm very grateful of having the contact, this with you guys today. I love these conversations. We can't have them enough, really. Gennady and others of you, I want to invite you to participate on People Unlimited anytime you feel. Love to book you in for some talks on People Unlimited. People Unlimited, like Charlie said, are very embracive of especially like-minded people, but anybody in that level, but especially like-minded people that, like you guys, that have so much to offer. So I'd like to book you in to talk, or just be on the line anytime you want, whatever you feel on that level, and participate. Because we all need this inspiration, stimulation, and the information, that we all bring to each other to stay alive. I mean, we're sharing great information here. Charlie, like Charlie just said, very simple thing, but very powerful thing, and of course, very inexpensive to not eat as much. That's powerful in itself. I practice that, and that's one of the most powerful things I do. I do special deep breathing to oxygenate my body. Sometimes it's Wim Hof breathing. Sometimes it's just a special breathing that I've learned from a Dr. Orn, who as you guys may know, spoke last year about immune therapy. And I do, in everything from NAD to infrared saunas to infrared lights to sunning. These are the things that I'm mentioning now that aren't very, expensive to do, that someone can do to keep their immune systems up. I make sure I get those basic supplements that Gennady was mentioning, zinc, C. What was the other one you were mentioning, Gennady?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D, very important. Yeah, especially if you don't get that enough in the sun. But getting out in the sun for 10 minutes is an amazing thing for your body. Just for, don't overdo, but just getting that. These are things you can do that don't cost anything, but will vibrate your body, will energize your body. And but also on top of that, get in conversations like this and with people that are inspiring. Don't just hang on social media and hear all the junk that's on there sometimes, and get the junk conversations and negative conversations. They pull your immune system down. They pull your mindset down. Get in conversations like this. Every Monday and Friday night, you're all welcome. Anybody that emails us, we'll send you the link. You can get on the People Unlimited meetings every Monday and Friday night. We have a big weekend event coming up. And by the way, Gennady, I want to talk to you about it. We have on the 27th of June here, there's a webinar for the coalition RAADfest, and Dr. Thierry Herzog, and probably a good chance, I think he's going to be confirming with us tomorrow, Dr. Jonathan Wright, are going to be talking about building the immune system. And Dr. Herzog is going to be talking about building the immune system with hormones, with hormone treatments. And actually treating and he's proven you can treat the coronavirus with it. So that'd be quite fascinating to hear. So these type of conversations we're having today, speaking about your life, moving for that, keeping a positive mindset that you don't have to just be subject to aging and death. You don't have to be subject to the negativity that's going around the world. There are people like us and many in the world. I personally feel there's millions, and I've already experienced this by just traveling. There's millions of people who want to live this life, who feel what we're doing and want to be involved. We just need to reach them deeper. So I want to thank you, Gennady, and thank all of you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. You're an awesome bunch of people, and I look forward to a lot more with you.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Jim. And I'll be happy to partake in many of the future events you described, speak at People Unlimited sometime, attend the webinar you mentioned. You're doing great work in spreading awareness of ways people can live longer, remain healthy, and unite us all as a movement in pursuit of the greatest goal that is conceivable right now. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you to our audience on YouTube, and thank you to those of you who will be watching the recording of this. We all appreciate your participation. This series of Virtual Enlightenment Salons will continue, so tune in next week on Sunday, June 14th at 1 p.m. US Pacific time for the next installment in this series. Until